And we are live August 23rd, 23, our college football preview 2023. Uh, Usual panels back. We got Mr. Siciliano back with us. Uh, Mr. Valenti is with us in the background. He's a little under the weather, but he's still here. Trooper, back from the honeymoon. I'm going to go right to him first, and I need to, tell him welcome back, him and Jen. I know you had a lot of stories for us to tell, but, great time I'm sure you had in Hawaii, and welcome back.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate it. Sorry, I'm not on video. Yes, we are both under a little weather. Doing pretty well, so that's a good thing. And it was great watching you guys. It was just weird watching the show last week at 1:30 in the
Mm-hmm.
afternoon. Yes, last week it was just crazy with the time. But just an update. There was no Kahlua pig. There was no pig at the luau. It was weird. There
Oh,
wasn't. It wasn't actually on the beach. It was that they did it on the rooftop. So they said that with the fire and the beach, it was ruining the sand and stuff. So yeah, I was nervous all night. I said, "Oh, what am I going to do with this?" And they never did it. So, but otherwise, it was a great trip. Jen and I had a great time, and but no, I'm glad to be back for a little tonight. Appreciate it.
And good news on my end, I am getting the comments. And sis, I believe your cousin Laura Virtue, that's your cousin, she's saying hello, everybody. So
hi, Laura.
sis, I'll give you the next intro, and you could say hello to Laura as well. Sis, are you there?
Hey, Cuz, how you doing? Welcome everybody tonight to a good show, and let's get it started.
Absolutely. Let's go to Paul Rosen next, in a different area of his house or someone else's house.
Different venue. Good evening, everybody. I am at my daughter's house visiting my daughter's family and grandbaby. So, good evening, everyone. Uh, Welcome back, Kurt. Hope you and Jen are feeling better. And I'm looking forward to a big show, college football. Let's do it.
Absolutely. Let's go to Mr. Carson Shear, ticket time himself.
What's up, guys? How you doing? Good to see you. Glad Kurt and Jenny had a good time on their honeymoon. So it's always good to see you. And yeah, let's get the party started.
Last, certainly not least, in Kansas City in barbecue land, Mr. Ryan Scoops Woodhams, Mr. Law
Yeah.
student over there. Started this
Yes,
week, I
sir.
believe.
Yes, sir. My classes started on Monday after last week's orientation. But I'm excited to be on tonight. Glad we're going to have an opportunity to talk about college football. I do apologize to Joey Clams and to everybody else who was on the Cashman needs to go train long before I was, because they were absolutely right. This season has been an unmitigated disaster. And I also want to say happy birthday in heaven to Kobe Bryant.
Great job, Ryan. And yeah, the Yankees will save that for a rainy day. And trust me, it'll
Mm.
be a real rainy day when we save it for the Yankees and Mets, that's for sure. But tonight we're going to do a little something different. We've done this each year, I think, for the past 3 years, right, Kurt?
Yep.
Carson, you've been with us for 3 years doing this. We got our annual college football preview 2023. And we came up with a nice little agenda. We're going to go over the conferences, got some questions for the audience and everybody out there, and we'll get the ball rolling. And going to start things off. A lot of shows start with save the best for last. Well, we're going to go with the best at first, and that's the SEC conference. And we got three fans of the SEC, two Alabama fans, and one Auburn fan, and that's Mr. Siciliano, Mr. Scoops, and Mr. Valenti's the Auburn fan. So I'm going to pass it off to Sis. We're going to do quick 45 seconds or less, little breakdown of what he's expecting out of Alabama this year. We'll go to Ryan, Kurt, and then we'll talk a little bit about our predictions in the SEC. So, Sis, I'm going to pass it off to you. Your thoughts on Alabama this year?
Yeah, we got several players returning that could have won pro, some of them, but should be an interesting year. A lot of competition. Yes, absolutely.
We can't hear you, Kenny.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna get used to this tonight. Back and forth there. Sorry, guys. Scoops, your thoughts on Alabama? Your quick thoughts.
Yeah. So obviously there's not a little or not a lot of certainty right now at quarterback after losing Bryce Young to the NFL. We've got Ty Simpson and Jalen Milroe on the roster. Milroe played a little bit last year, but ultimately not a ton of knowledge as to what we'll get out of either one. Plus, Coach Saban has two new coordinators, Tommy Rees on the offensive side and Kevin Steele on the defensive side. So I don't know if I would call it necessarily rebuilding year in Alabama, but it's kind of close to that, at least by Alabama standards.
Absolutely. And then I'm going to pass it off to now. We're going to go with Mr. Valenti for his Auburn Tigers. His thoughts on his new coach and what he's expecting out of them this year.
Yeah, I like the Hugh Freeze. I like the Hugh Freeze hire. I mean, I guess Lane Kiffin was obviously my number one choice, but the thing about Hugh Freeze is that he's a big time recruiter, and you can see it already how he flipped the linebacker from Alabama to Auburn. He flipped to Georgia, 2 5-star guys, one from Alabama, one from Georgia. So I still think they're going to be 2 years away from really competing. It's just we don't have the talent of Alabama and Georgia the past couple of years, and I still think it's like I said, a year or two away. But we can tell that he is going to be getting these prospects. In the SEC, you need top flight talent to win. Everywhere Freeze has gone, he's brought the talent, and again, I like the way it is right now. Quarterback battle, transfer from Michigan State. He named him right now the number one. We still have Ashford, the freshman dynamic player. So we're going to mix him in. So I do like that 1-2 combination. And, we have the running back Hunter. He got into a little trouble, obviously, but over the summer. But it's going to be, I think, a running attack this year. Again, tough schedule. I mean, every year I think they're number 3 in the country, toughest schedule. So, I wouldn't be surprised if they hang in with a couple of teams this year and they do an upset, whether it's, I'm just going to throw it out there, like an LSU or somebody like that. But, I'd say above 500 in a bowl game would be nice for them. But I really think this team could really start competing 2-3 years from down the road.
Nice. Why don't we do this? We're going to do this for each conference. We're going to take a break in between each conference. But what we're going to ask everybody is for their SEC champs, their SEC sleeper, and their SEC disappointment. So I'm going to save the SEC guys for last in this one. So Paul, I'm going to ask you for first your SEC champs, then your sleeper and your disappointment this year.
Okay. Thanks, Kenny. Well, until they're beaten, I'm going with the champ. Let's go with Georgia as SEC champion again. And, they got to be knocked out. So right now I'm going with Georgia. My sleeper, Kurt just mentioned the coach's name, Lane Kiffin. I'm going with Alabama. I'm going with Ole Miss. They have a new defensive coordinator. Their quarterback, Jackson Dart, is excellent. And I think they're going to be surprising a lot of people, especially Lane Kiffin is one of the best coaches in college football. My disappointing team is going to be Florida. I think no Anthony Richardson this year. The defense was bad last year. I think Billy Napier is going to be hearing some of those boo birds down in the state of Florida, and I think they have a difficult schedule. So my disappointing team is going to be University of Florida.
Some good ones there, Paul. Let's go to Carson for his champs, sleeper, and disappointment.
Yeah, I'm with Paul with the champ, Georgia. Again, they're back-to-back. They're going to try for the trio. Never been done before, so I got to stick with Georgia for now. Sleeper team, I'm going to go with Ole Miss as well with Paul. I think they're flying under the radar. They play well in the SEC and kind of a team that gets overlooked. And then disappointing, I'm going to say LSU. I don't understand why they're ranked 5 in the AP poll. I feel like it's a little too high for me. They're going to be good, but they're going to fall off this year, in my opinion.
Good stuff. I'll go next. I'm with you guys with Georgia until you knock off the champ. I'm looking at their schedule, guys, and I'm telling you, Tennessee Martin, Ball State, South Carolina is their toughest game. Then they got UAB, Auburn, Kentucky, blah, 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 Vanderbilt. Schedule favors them. All these home games, their toughest game is going to be Tennessee in November at Tennessee. I think this team's going to go undefeated, at worst, 1 loss, and they're going to be the favorites going in. So they're going to be my SEC champ. Sleeper team, I'm going to go with a team. If Georgia was to falter, you see crazy things, injuries happen. A team that can move up could be South Carolina in that division, in my opinion. I like the quarterback. He's turned it around over there, Spencer Rattler. You got Frank Beamer's son coaching over there. I think they're well disciplined. It could be a little sleeper team. I'm with Paul with Florida. And losing Anthony Richardson, I think that team's going to struggle this year. And I think Billy Napier might be on his way out if you don't turn that team around soon. I'm going to go to Scoops next.
So, as far as who I think is going to win the division, or excuse me, the conference, I'm going to go with Alabama. I think that people say I mean I was just saying it that Alabama is missing a lot of players that went to the NFL and whatnot. Georgia lost pretty much almost that whole defense, or at least a lot of the key players on that defense. So even though I don't think this is going to be Bama's best year, I still think that they'll play well enough to win the conference. A sleeper team for me, excuse me, I'm going to go with Ole Miss. I think that Ole Miss comes in at, I think that they have the ability to pull off about maybe an 8-win season. I like some of the players that they have, particularly on the offensive side of the ball, and I think that if like you said, if one of those teams up there starts to slip or has a bad loss, that could be the team that jumps up and takes that spot. Team that I think is going to disappoint most, and I don't know if I necessarily would say that they're still not a top 5 team, but I think that Tennessee put very high standards on themselves last year, and I don't know if I see them having a follow-up as strong as some people are going to hope. So I'm going to say my disappointing team is going to be the Vols.
Nice. Let me catch up on some comments. Mark Calderio, our good friend, saying hello, everybody. Hey, Mark, what's going on?
Hey, Mark.
Our good friend, one of our good friends over at Denver Bronco Roundup, Mr. Albert Dutchy Knoppers, is saying howdy, y'all. Check them out on Tuesday nights, Denver Bronco Roundup. They did an awesome job yesterday. Fun show. 8 p.m. our time, Eastern time. And Laura's got a question. She's asking any prognosis on the Gamecocks when you get a chance. I'll touch on it really quick. I got the book in front of me. I highly recommend any college football fan to get Lindy's Sports College Football Preview. Amazing book. I've been getting it for 4 years now. They're ranked 24, Laura. They got the quarterback back, Spencer Rattler. I think he's going to lead that team. I think they could sneak up on some teams this year. Georgia's the king, of course, but South Carolina might be the prince. They got a good newcomer in Trey Knox. I'm reading up on him, tight end. And they got an emerging star, I think a 5-star recruit in the secondary that's going to start as a freshman. I believe his name, I might butcher this name, Nick Emenwari. And it looks like we got some players over there with South Carolina, and they might sneak up on some people there in the SEC this year. I'm high on them this year, Laura. That being said, let's get Sis's thoughts on his champ, his sleeper, and disappointment.
I think Georgia lost a lot of players, and this could be a time for Alabama to jump back into the number 1 spot. Sleepers LSU, and disappointment is Mississippi State.
I like Mississippi State there as a disappointment. You know, a lot of people are talking high on them this year, but I don't know if I see it. I think there's too much depth in that SEC, right, Kurt? I think there's too much depth in that SEC for Mississippi State on that side of the SEC. What about you, Kurt? What's your thoughts on this SEC? Champs, sleeper, and disappointment?
Yeah, for the champs, it's kind of weird because I think the two best teams, obviously Georgia or in Alabama, I think a lot of them do have question marks because, like Scoop said, Georgia lost a lot, right? I mean, they lost a lot, but I'm still going to give it to them, because they just play that physicality football of run the ball, play defense, and it's the best in the country. So I'm still going to take Georgia. I'm going to be a homer and say Auburn as a sleeper, not as a team that's going to win a lot of games, but I with the talent that Hugh Freeze is getting, I can see them getting one big upset this year. Whether it's again LSU, an Ole Miss, or playing a closer game, Alabama or Georgia. So I'm going to put them there, and I agree. Florida as a disappointment. I mean, I know we have coaching people on the coaching block, but Napier is in trouble, and I don't know if he's going to be there at the end of this year. But I'm going to take Florida as a disappointment.
Absolutely. Albert's saying there's a football reporter on Sirius XM who sounds just like me. Have to check that out. Maybe that's my second job there, Dutchy. Maybe it's my second job. So we got a couple questions. Now, am I reading these questions, Paul, or are we passing it off to Kurt?
No, we were passing it off to Kurt and Ryan.
Kurt, if you want me, I can read yours.
Yeah, if you can, please.
Yeah. I'll Ryan, do you want to go ahead and ask a question, or are you good? You want me to go first?
You can go first.
All right. Well, I don't have the cheat sheet in front of me. Which one am I doing? Am I doing the coach?
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, guys. All right. So the question is, and I'll start with Paul. Give me which head coach this year which new head coach this year will have the most success with their new team? Of course, you got Deion Sanders out there, Luke Fickell. There's a bunch of guys out there that are taking over. So who would you think would have the most success with their new team this year, Paul?
Yeah, like you said, there's quite a number of new coaches. Matt Rule also. I'm going to go with Luke Fickell at Wisconsin. The best thing I could say is this is not going to be your older brother or your father's Wisconsin teams. They brought in quarterback Tanner Mordecai from SMU, who had almost 4,000 yards and almost 35 touchdowns. So I think Wisconsin's going to be in for an offense that they haven't seen probably in 25, 30 years. And I think Luke Fickell's going to come in and really do a great job. They're probably, in all likelihood, going to win the West in the Big Ten West Conference. And I think he's going to be, in my opinion, the best new head coach.
Yeah, my pick is Deion Sanders, Colorado.
He's taking over a new program there in the Pac-12 for sure. I think they're going to be in the Big 12 next year. I think they're going to make some noise for sure. He's going to definitely recruit over there, right, sis? Yeah. Absolutely. Carson, how about you?
Yeah, I agree with Paul as well. With Wisconsin, a different name I could give you. I like what Matt Rule's doing with Nebraska, kind of stepping back down to reality. Obviously he struggled with the Panthers in the NFL. Now he's got a new system, new school, and I think a lot of the guys are behind him. So especially in the West, where it's definitely more open than the East is, I think Nebraska could make some noise. So I'll say Matt Rule.
Scoops.
I 100% agree with Carson. I was also going to say Matt Rule. I was a big fan of his when he was, before he went to the NFL with the Panthers. Unfortunately, some guys, even Coach Saban, among others, just don't pan out. And, people sometimes, I think, don't always appreciate how different it is coaching in the NFL versus college. So he's back with, what he's familiar with. He's got experience on both sides of the ball, which is not common for a head coach. And I think that they are, he's got an 8-year deal up there, so he'll have ample opportunity to develop his program up there.
And Kurt.
I'm going to agree with Sis, with Dion. Again, I don't know if he's going to have 6 or 7 wins this year, but when you're one of, they were probably one of the worst 3 teams in the country. And now they're on ESPN. They're going to be on so many primetime games. He's getting these big time recruits. So I'm going to say Dion with Colorado, just how he turned that program from absolutely garbage to, back to it's going to be a prominent program. So I'm going to say Dion.
Nice pick. Scoops, I'm going to pass it off to you. That was Kurt's question. He was going to ask everybody, but again, he's not feeling a little under the weather, so I took over for him there. So, Scoop, I'm just going to pass it off to you.
All right. So obviously, there's a lot of storied programs in college football that have not been as prestigious or as successful recently as their prestige. Haven't leveled up to that. Talking Miami, talking Florida, among other programs, Virginia Tech, Texas A&M. So which program, whether it's one of these or another one, which of these former powerhouse programs do you think will take a significant leap forward this year? And I'll go in the order in which I see it. Kenny.
I'm going to go with the team I got on my hat, and I'm not doing it because I'm a homer. I think Mario Cristobal is a great recruiter. He's getting the recruits already. Is he a top head coach? I'm not going to say that, but he does have the recruits. He's building a program there. I think they'll be better than their 5-7 record, and I'm looking hopefully to be, ceiling 2 or 3 losses this year, maybe 4 losses, and we get that program back on track. So, yeah, my quick answer is going to be Miami there, Ryan.
Very nice. And for your sake, I hope that's the case. Paul.
There's a school in Texas that they better turn it around this year because if Jimbo Fisher doesn't, with the hire of Bobby Petrino as their offensive coordinator, he may be out because I think a lot of the alumni and donors don't have a problem writing a big check for an ex-coach. So I think Texas A&M has got to turn it around. They were high preseason favorites last year, and they tanked. So I think we'll get to another question about coaches on the hot seat later on, but I think they better turn it around, Texas A&M, this year.
Agreed. Sis.
I got a feeling Penn State's going to have a big year.
Ooh, interesting one. Carson.
Yeah, I agree with Paul. I think Jimbo Fisher has definitely have to step up and get it done this year. I think, again, like he was alluding to later with another discussion about hot seat coaches, I think Texas A&M, they can't get any worse than what they were last year. They can only go up. So I think that's the team that has a bounce back year.
Sounds good. I like the analysis. I also was going to say Texas A&M, but so we don't have 3 people saying the same one. I'll say the Florida Gators. I know that they just lost one of my favorite prospects in the draft, in Anthony Richardson, but they also had a couple of well-regarded recruiting classes recently. So, I think they will take a step back. I don't know if it'll be for that long or as significant as some people are saying.
Got Mr. Valenti.
Yeah, you know what? I'm with Carson and Paul too with A&M, and I just think like Paul said, they were a top. I mean, they were. I'm sorry, they were like a playoff, top 14 to get into the playoffs last year, right? Preseason rank. So the talent's there. They put money into that program. So I'm going to go A&M.
Nice. That was our little SEC preview. We're going to pass things off to the Big Ten guy, and we're going to get into some Big Ten talk with Carson Shear, Michigan State guy.
Yeah, thanks, Kenny. Yeah, I'll give like a 30-second breakdown of the Big Ten, and I'll ask you guys a couple questions that I have relating to college football. Obviously, it's going to be Michigan, Ohio State, and Penn State. Mostly Michigan and Ohio State. I think Ryan Day is a little bit under fire. Harbaugh has beat him 2 years in a row now, so there's a little pressure looming around Ryan Day. They're probably both going to go undefeated until that final game in November. And they're going to see what happens. It's at the Big House this year, but that's the two teams that are going to run the East in the Big Ten. My Spartans, we'll see what happens with them. I think Mel Tucker, we have another segment of hot coaches on the hot seat. He's got to get it done. I mean, he's one of the highest paid coaches in college football. The over-under right now is 5.5 wins. And if we don't make a bowl game back-to-back years, there's definitely some serious question marks revolving Mel Tucker, and then we alluded to earlier, you got a couple new coaches with programs, Luke Fickell at Wisconsin and Matt Rule at Nebraska. So it should be a fun year for the Big Ten. This is the last year the Big Ten's also doing divisions in their conference. So the East and the West, you're not going to see that until after this year. This is the last year that they're doing it. So I got a couple questions overall relating to the college football in general. So I want you guys to give me who is your top 3 coaches in college football right now. And then I got another question regarding the college football playoff expansion that I'll ask you guys your thoughts on afterwards. So I think mine right now, I'm going to go Jim Harbaugh, number 3. I think this is the best year that he's had at his program. There's a lot of pressure revolving on him to win a national championship. He's coming off back-to-back Big Ten championships and just can't really take that next step to get to the national title game. So I'll say Jim Harbaugh, number 3. I'll go Nick Saban, number 2. I mean, he speaks for itself. One of the greatest coaches of all time. He's going to be in the conversation, the college football playoff conversation for as long as he's there. And I'll go with Kirby Smart coming off of back-to-back national championships. And I think he's going to be there for a long time at Georgia as well. So right off the top of your head, if you guys agree with my top 3, you can throw a different one in there. Who's your top 3 coaches in college football? I'll go with Kurt first.
Carson, we nailed it, man. Exactly your list. Harbaugh, I honestly think Harbaugh is the best coach, like pure coach, but I can't. I'm the one guy that says championships, right? So I can't put him 1 until he wins one. So I'm going to go Harbaugh 3, Saban 2. And I'm sorry, I think the best guy right now is Kirby Smart. He showed you the past 2 years. He's adapted the best. And so I'm with you. Harbaugh 3, Saban 2, Kirby Smart 1.
Nice. Ryan.
So I've got the same 3, but just in a different order. I do have Harbaugh 3rd for the same reason as Kurt just said. I got to see him win the big game before I can move him above the top 2. I do have I will put Kirby Smart 2nd. He's a very good argument for number 1 after what he's done recently. But I think for the longevity of Saban's career, I'm going to put Saban 1st. Because of how long he's done so well at it. But again, it kind of reminds me of the Belichick-Reed argument where, I think Reed and in this case, Smart, if they keep doing this for a couple more years, they're going to have a very convincing argument to be number 1.
Nice. Paul, I'll go to you next.
Okay. I think we're all going to probably agree it's either going to be 1-2 or 2-1 with Nick and Kirby Smart. I mean, there are others that you could probably think about: Dabo Swinney, Brian Kelly, even Luke Fickell. You could even throw in there. But my 3rd choice is actually a guy that is sort of under the radar, but he's an excellent coach. Maybe doesn't get the quality 5-star recruits as some of the teams like Alabama and Georgia does, but he's won the last 2 Pac-12 conference titles. So I'm going to go with Kyle Whittingham, who probably deserves a lot more accolades than he gets, and I think he's an excellent coach for Utah.
Nice. I like that one. Yeah, I love Utah as a program. I'll go to Sis next.
Yeah, pretty much what everybody else said. The top 2, Saban, Smart, and my third one would be Fickle.
Nice. And Kenny.
Just like the rest of you guys, one A, Saban, Smart. But my third guy is somebody different that no one said, and he's turned 2 programs around, and now he's with his third program. He turned Temple around, put them on the map. He turned Baylor around, put them on the map. I'm putting Matt Rule at number 3 and see if he can turn this Nebraska team back into what they were with the Tom Osborne days and get them back
I
in
like
the Big Ten race. But he turned 2 programs around, so I'm going to go with him, Carson. Real quick, I'm going to read a couple comments. Mark
Sure.
Calderio, big Michigan fan, so he's throwing Michigan out there. And Albert, our good friend Dutchy, he doesn't know too much about college football, but he knows the Aggies from Utah State aren't that good, but he still roots for them as a graduate from Utah State.
There you go.
There you
Nice.
go, Albert. So real
Cool.
quick, Carson.
Yeah.
Before you get your next, you got one more question. So let's do your next question, and then rapid fire. We'll do our champs and disappointment and sleeper for the Big Ten.
Okay, sure. Yeah,
do it
sounds
that way
good.
so we could catch up a little bit. So
Yeah, for sure.
we'll do the questions though, like we're doing.
Yeah, sounds good. Yeah, so obviously the big news, they announced a couple years ago that they're expanding to 12 teams in the college football playoff starting in the 2024-25 season. Obviously, the format has been the top 4 teams, and they have a semifinal format, and then the best of those semifinal games, the 2 winners face off in the national championship. So my question and my thought is, what do you guys think of this? There's a lot of controversy surrounding this. A lot of people don't like this. A lot of people do like this. I think it's great for college football. I get a lot of slack from my friends. I don't really understand why. I think you get more games, you get more ratings, you get more. I think it's great for the sport in general. You almost kind of have it be like a March Madness type theme. And the only thing that they have to figure out, and the argument that the people that don't believe in it is you got to put the best team in the top 4. Well, I think there's way more than 4 teams that could definitely win the national championship. And I think it's great that they expanded it to 12 teams. So you're going to see the absolute best of the best get a shot. And then people are saying, oh, well, I think it's unfair, that they only have to play 1 football game and they played a whole season. If they lose and they don't perform well in December, that, that doesn't seem fair to me. It's like, if you really want to win a national championship, what are you afraid of? Go out and prove it. And let your game speak for itself. And another thing they have to get rid of is these stupid non-conference games. I'm looking at Georgia's schedule right now. They're playing Ball State, UAB, every single team that's a Power 5 conference. They have these absolute asinine scheduled games where the teams are favored by 20 or 30 points. And it's like, are you really counting that as part of your regular season win total? Whereas you could be facing conference games where you get more of a competitive schedule, and then you really find out who the best 12 teams are. So I think it's great. Do you guys agree? Do you disagree? Is this good or bad for college football to expand from 4 to 12 teams? I'll start with Ryan on this one first.
I'm really glad you said that, what you did there, because that's the point I was just going to make. My opinion of this is going to be heavily founded, I think, in whether we actually get good college football from week 1 through to the bowl games. Because even as a Bama fan, I am so sick and tired of, going up against, Sam Houston and, winning, 73-2 or 73-3. It's not interesting. As a sports fan, you want to see competitive games. And also, I feel like it would make it easier to debate the final teams, however many teams are going to be in the playoff, make it easier to debate, or at least have more information to debate the final games, when you're not saying, well, this team only had 1 loss and this team had 2 losses, but, that 1 loss is worse. So it's like, no, it's, if your season's going to be 14 games, then it shouldn't only come down to 1 or 2 games that, people are judging everything off of, and teams that are winning, have better records, just are completely, they're having better records because they're playing, like you said, these cupcake schedules from, Massachusetts.
Yeah, I agree for sure, Ryan. Interesting thoughts. I'll go to Kenny next.
I like it, Carson, and especially for you guys and you in the Big Ten and the SEC guys, you should absolutely love it because you're going to get those two lost teams. Some of these two lost teams that you say deserve to be in there, you're going to get them in there. You're going to get your champs from. You're only going to have 4 conferences. You got to remember the Pac-12 is disbanding, so you're only going to have the Big 12, ACC, SEC, and Big Ten, and if you can put Alabama, Georgia, LSU, and maybe even like throw an Auburn in there, you get 4 SEC teams fighting for a national championship team, and then another 3 from the Big Ten. Throw Michigan, Ohio State, and let's say Michigan State or Penn State. I love it. And then you get your 3 at-large, your 3 conference winners, your ACC, your Big 12, and you get 1 other at-large bid. Maybe a Notre Dame or somebody gets in there. Love it. Love it. Absolutely. Sign me up. I'm up for it 100%.
Nice. I couldn't agree more. I'll go to Kurt next.
I agree with Carson and Kenny, what you just said, where absolutely as an SEC fan, I'm going to love it because, as an Auburn fan, I'd say we had one chance in this playoff, in this college football playoff. I think it was 2017 when we beat Alabama and Georgia, and we lost to Georgia in the SEC championship game, but that's the only year we legitimately had a chance to get into the playoff. So yeah, I am going to like that, right? I am going to like that there's 12 teams. And just like you said, the only thing I'm worried about, Carson, is I think the one thing that college football does that no other sport does is how important every game is every week, right? Like you look at Alabama last year, that Alabama-Tennessee game and the Alabama-LSU game. I mean, those 2 plays knocked them out of the playoff, where if there was a 12-team playoff, they're in the playoff, but that's the thing. Like people want to come back and say, oh my God, Michigan's losing. As good as Michigan is this year, but oh my God, Michigan's losing the Big Ten championship game this year. If they lose, are they out? Where I think it's going to be just, the top 8 teams are okay. We're going to know who the 8 are, and the bottom 4 are going to be the ones going. So, I hope it doesn't water down how important, like these upset alerts, like, oh my God, Clemson's on upset alert. If they lose, they're done, week 2, teams can be out of the playoff. That's the only thing I hope it doesn't do.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's definitely a fair point. For sure. I'll go to Sis next, and then we'll wrap it up with Paul.
Sis, you got that? Did you hear that?
Yeah, what was your question? Sorry.
Yeah, the college football playoff expanding from 4 to 12 teams next year. Do you like it or not?
Oh yeah, no, to me that's too many teams. 8, I'm comfortable with.
Gotcha.
Yep.
Paul.
Yeah, I don't like it. I love it. Everything that you guys said, I 100% agree with. And I just did a little research. Carson, you talked about March Madness. So, in 1975, the NCAA March Madness went to 32 teams. They doubled. 1979, they were at 32 teams. And after the Bird and Magic championship game, they then in 1980 went from 40 to 48 teams. In 1985, they went to 64 teams. They were at the 85 championship, the 85 championship game. Villanova upset the Georgetown Hoya Destroyer, our own Patrick Ewing team. And in 2011, they went up to 68 teams. I don't think there's anybody on the panel here or maybe out there listening to us who would say that the NCAA tournament hasn't been, for March Madness, an unbelievable spectacle year after year. And I feel that's what's going to happen with college football. You know what? I wouldn't even keep it at 12. I'd go up another 4, add 16 teams, add 20 teams. I think the more the merrier. I think you're going to have that much better play. And I think teams that are on the bubble, as we talk about in the NCAA basketball championship, I think they're going to be, okay, do we get in? Do we get out? And they'll have, the same type of bowl invitations that night. And I think it's going to be great. I really, really do.
Nice. Yeah, I like what you guys all said. I think personally it's good for the sport. I think it'll definitely intense the playoff environment atmosphere. They're still trying to figure out a way that they're going to structure it. But the first round will have the games literally be played at the school. So I think the school environment and the campus alone, that'll be really cool to see. So those are my two thoughts and questions I had for you guys. Kenny, I know you wanted to give.
Yeah, I'll go around the panel, Carson, first, but I'm
Sure.
going to catch up on some comments. Jody said, "Sis, sorry." Well, this goes for Scoops too, because he's a Bama fan. Sorry, you're going to have to deal with Reese and Buckner this year, the two transfers from Notre Dame that went to Alabama. Jody's also saying, "Where's the national champs helmet?" Notre Dame. Albert. This is a good comment from Albert. He believes that if they have more games, the draft will be more lucrative as well due to a bigger game sample. That's a good point. Eddie Murphy saying good evening. He's saying too many teams. College b-ball in NCAA football are two different animals. Football teams are to build. Good points, guys. Good points. Carson, what I'm going to do, so we're going to try and catch up a little bit because we're a little behind. You're the Big Ten guy. I'm going to let you comment on the Big Ten. You're going to give us your champs, your sleeper, and your disappointment. The rest of us will answer rapid fire style. Are we okay with that, guys?
Yep.
All right.
Yes.
All right. So Carson, give us your thoughts on your Big Ten champs, your sleeper, and your disappointment.
Sounds good. I think obviously, it's got to be Michigan, especially in that East. You could have a three. I mean, I think Penn State could definitely move up the ranks, and they're going to give Michigan and Ohio State a run for their money. But the two leading candidates who I expect to both be undefeated for the Michigan-Ohio State game, the winner is going to go to the playoff in the Big Ten championship. So I think it's going to be Michigan. Harbaugh's suspended a couple games this year, but I don't think it's going to matter because they're playing Little Sister Mary of the Catholic Church the first two games. So I think he'll be just fine. So I got Michigan as my champion. A sleeper team, I think I'm going to go with Nebraska. I think what we alluded to earlier, I think Matt Rule, he's invested into those guys in the West, and I'm going to go with Nebraska and Wisconsin as my two sleeper teams. And then disappointing team, I'm going to go with Iowa. I think they're ranked in the top 25 right now. I think they're going to have a disappointing season.
Nice, Carson. I'll go next. My rapid fire. My champs are going to surprise the hell out of Carson. It's going to be the Wisconsin Badgers as they pull off the upset in the Big Ten championship game in that week West. My sleeper is going to be Nebraska, like you said, Matt Rule. I think he's going to turn that team around over there. And my disappointment is Ohio State. I'm not high on their coach, and my rapid fire test answer would be look at their schedule. Tough schedule. Paul.
Short and sweet. My champ will be Michigan. My sleeper, I guess you could say Wisconsin with the new coach, but Matt Rule and Nebraska right behind them. And Carson, I hate to say it, but Michigan State might be my disappointment. And as I sang to you last year, Mel Tucker has got to go. Carson knows.
Mark Calderio's champs are Michigan, sleeper, Maryland. That's a good one. Disappointment, Penn State. I'm going to go to Sis next.
Jody and Paul should get together and watch a couple of Notre Dame games for starters.
We do.
My Big Ten champ is going to be Penn State. Sleeper is going to be Michigan State. And you're going to be shocked. Disappointment, Michigan.
Whoa.
Interesting.
Sis trying to get on Carson's good side. Two for one there. Michigan State as a sleeper and Michigan disappointment.
That'd be great.
Let's go to Kurt, and then we'll finish this Big Ten off with scoops.
I'm going Michigan, not only as my Big Ten champ, I'm picking them as my national champ. Penn State is my sleeper. Again, I think they have, they could upset maybe Ohio State. And my disappointment is I don't know what you guys are all seeing in Wisconsin. Fickle's not playing this, Patsy Cake schedule anymore. And, it's a given that they're saying he's going to win the conference. And if he doesn't win the conference, then it's a disappointment. And even if he wins the conference, he's going to get blasted by Michigan in the title game. So I'm going to say Wisconsin. Disappointment.
And Scoops, wrap up the Big Ten for us.
I have Ohio State winning the Big Ten, and I think they're going to be formidable in going for the title. My sleeper, I'll also go with Coach Rules guys for the reasons I mentioned earlier. My disappointment, since they were, I think 6-3 in the conference last year, I'm going to say Purdue. I don't think that they're going to have anywhere near the same success this year. I can't hear
I got
you,
Kenny now.
Okay, yeah, I hit a wrong button there, guys. Sorry about that. And Kurt, that's fine. I understand. We're good. That concludes Big Ten. So we're going to move to the next conference. Going to try and do these a little fast. Try and get this done in about 10 minutes because I know Kurt's getting a little tired over there, and we'll try and get this done in 10 minutes for him. So I'll take over with the ACC. ACC's got 2 teams in the top 10 or just outside the top 10, Florida State and Clemson. Got some teams people are calling, you got your North Carolina just outside the top 25, but three good quarterbacks, in my opinion, in the ACC. You got Riley Leonard at Duke, you got Drake May at North Carolina, and you got Devin Travis at Florida State. Then you got your middle of the road teams. You got Miami, who I think is going to be better this year. You got Wake Forest, who seems to surprise people. Pitt Panthers can be sneaky. Some teams that are not getting much recognition. Virginia Tech, they might try and get back on the map this year. Watch out for them. Jenny Hoops is Virginia Cavaliers. They got a couple decent standouts over there. We'll see. The ACC as a whole, I don't think it's a powerhouse conference, but I think it's a 2-team race to the end. And we'll go real quick. I'll we'll start since we're on the ACC. I'll give you my champs. I'll give you my sleeper and disappointment, and we'll go around the room. And then I got a couple questions for you guys. My ACC champ is going to be Clemson. I like Dabo Sweeney over Norvell, but Norvell's getting better, and he's got Devin Travis over there. But I think in the end, Dabo Sweeney, Clemson, they're going to take the ACC. You're not going to have an ACC team in the playoff, though, but they're going to be the ACC champs. Excuse me, guys. My sleeper is going to be my boys at Miami. I think Cristobal, 5-7 last year, huge disappointment. The expectations aren't there as much this year. I could see 8-9 wins easily and get into a decent bowl game this year and being just behind the top 2 big names there in Florida State and Clemson. My disappointment is going to be North Carolina. They have Drake May, who's arguably the best quarterback in college football, some say, but he doesn't have the weapons. And we all know when you don't have the weapons and you're shooting blanks, it could be a long season there for North Carolina. So North Carolina will be my sleeper. So Clemson, champs, Miami, sleeper, North Carolina. I'm going to go to Kurt next.
You know who I'm going. I'm the big Dabo fan, right? I'm taking Clemson. I think it's such an upgrade with the quarterback Klubnik over DJ. So I'm going to take Clemson. I disagree with you, Kenny. I'm going to take a sleeper. I'm going to take North Carolina. Again, I think he's very well coached. Listen, I don't trust the team, especially defensively in big games, but the quarterback and coach, May and Brown, will keep these guys in games. And I'm going to take disappointment V-Tech. Kenny, when we grew up, we were, with Michael Vick and all these great Virginia Tech teams and
special teams, block a kick every game.
Now they're just a bottom of the barrel team. So I'm going to take V-Tech till they turn it around.
Okay. Paul.
Well, like you guys, I'm going to go with Clemson. As you previously stated. My sleeper team is a team that I think played well last year, and I think they added transfer quarterback Phil Jerkovic from Boston College, and I'm going to pick Pittsburgh. They have no Clemson, Miami, North Carolina State, Florida State, and North Carolina at home. So I think they have a legitimate chance of being very good this year. And my disappointing team, I hate to tell you, Kenny, is Miami. They play Clemson, they play Florida State, North Carolina, and North Carolina State, and I think it's going to be a tough schedule for them. I hope they're. I'm wrong, but I have a feeling that it's going to be difficult for them again this year.
Man, I don't know what we did to him, Carson, but he came after you and me in the same show and called our two teams disappointments.
Come on, Paul.
I think it's coming up because I think
I know.
I think there's something coming up that may have leading him back to that. But
there's a team from South Bend that's about ready to come up.
Yeah. Let's go to Sis next.
Oh man.
Champs is Florida State. Miami's a sleeper. And Mr. Dabo Sweeney cannot coach in big games.
It's disappointment. I'm sorry, disappointment. Scoops, I'm going to go to you next.
So my champs are also the Clemson Tigers. My surprise team, I'm going to go with I guess you can call them my hometown team. I'm going to go with the Syracuse Orange. They brought in a new defensive coordinator this season in Rocky Long, who's had a lot of success defensively over at New Mexico and has also coached for a while at San Diego State. Has had a lot of success over there with 3 Mountain West championships. And they've got a solid linebacking core, and I really like what their defense can do, especially as the weather turns to that colder weather where physical defense and short yardage is the name of the game basically. As for my disappointment, pardon me, I think I'm going to say Louisville. I think that Louisville has people believing in them a lot over the last couple of years, football wise. And I think when you look at them juxtaposed with some of the other teams, North Carolina, Miami, even Pittsburgh, like was said before, I just don't see the depth of their roster being able to go up against some of those other teams.
I like it a lot. That's ACC champs, sleeper, and disappointments. I got a couple questions for you guys. And Kurt, I wanted to keep you on for this one. I'm going to go to you first. We're going to ask Kurt, should Notre Dame be eligible for college football playoffs, or should special rules be enforced to the independent schools? Besides Notre Dame, you got Connecticut, who's never going to fight for a national championship. But Notre Dame's the only one out of the independents, Kurt. Should there be some kind of special rule for them because they don't play in a championship game and they get one less game than everybody else?
Yeah, it's an absolute joke. We said it a couple years ago. Alabama has to play Georgia for an SEC championship game, and Notre Dame's sitting on the sideline. When they had to go play an ACC championship game, do you guys remember what happened with that one, Kenny? It cost you were eating the what's that called? The Tostito with the chip in the mouth because they got destroyed, right? So no, you know what? They shouldn't be able to be in the playoff. There's no reason that they're not. They don't play nobody on the schedule. No, it's an absolute joke. Go to a conference. If you're worried about making money and you want to go worry about your NBC deal and all that, then you're foregoing a college football playoff. That's it. You be like everybody else. Join a conference. Nobody's telling you have to go to this conference. Go to any conference. They could have put them in the Pac-12, put them in anything, go. But they're more worried about their brand and their money, and that's fine. But when I had to watch that one year and it's like, well, if Alabama loses to Georgia, they're out. and Alabama sneaks and Notre Dame just sneaks in because they did nothing on that previous weekend. It's a joke.
I agree. Paul, I'm going to give you the chance to either go next or last as the Notre Dame.
I'm going to go last.
I'll go next, and I will add. I do agree with Kurt because I'm on this Notre Dame thing too. They do play some tough games. I will give them that, but there are some cupcakes on there as well. But here's the problem I have, Kurt.
Majors play.
Yep. Here's the problem I have, Kurt. USC is going to the Big Ten next year, right, Carson?
Yep.
USC. You got your Big 12 teams going to the SEC. You got your other Big 10s going to the other Pac-12s going to the Big 12. If I'm USC, why would I want to play Notre Dame and risk losing an out-of-conference game when I'm going to have a tougher schedule in the Big Ten now? The teams that are playing Notre Dame need to cancel their games with Notre Dame. They're not getting money for playing Notre Dame. Notre Dame's making all the money. Cancel the games. You don't need Notre Dame on your schedule anymore. Then force Notre Dame to go to the ACC or another conference. They're in the ACC in basketball and they're in the Big Ten in hockey. They can play in the conference in football. It's a scam, and Notre Dame's been getting away with it for years, Paul. Getting away with it for years. When you have a one-loss Notre Dame team that's playing one game less than an SEC or a Big Ten team, and they're not getting in. So that's my take on it. I'm going to go to Carson next, and then I'll let the other two SEC guys have their take on it.
Really quickly, I'll give you my picks for ACC because I didn't get to do that. So I'll go Clemson champ. Sleeper is Wake Forest, and disappointment is Pittsburgh. But I agree with you guys to an extent. And again, this is why the college football playoff need to be expanded, because Notre Dame's kind of in the middle of the pack where, yes, they could compete, but they could also fall out as well. So they're kind of right in the middle. But again, you have all these teams leaving their conferences and joining a bigger conference or bigger and better competition. And Notre Dame just kind of wants to stay right in their bubble. So I don't really know how to evaluate that quite just yet. I think they definitely have the capability and the talent to contend. But as far as right now, if I had to have them be in the playoff format that is right now, the top four, are they a top four team in the country based on their schedule? I don't know that. So I agree with you guys, Kenny and Kurt. I think there definitely needs to be a stipulation in place towards the independent schools.
Carson, I apologize for forgetting you on the ACC.
Oh, yeah, you're good.
Let's go to Sis. His thoughts on the Notre Dame. Should they be allowed?
There's excuse me. There's exchanging of envelopes behind the field house before the games.
Oh man,
I love it. Scoops, I'm giving you the final word again on the Notre Dame subject. But Paul's going to
no until I have.
Paul will get the final word. This is your chance, Scoops, to come after Paul.
I mean, I really can't say anything that hasn't already been said. I think that when you're in the when you're evaluating what has to be done at the end of the season, I don't think that Paul would be too happy if the Eagles got to play one less game of the season and it knocked the Giants out of the playoffs.
Apples and oranges.
All right, Mr. Rosen, you're going to get a chance to defend yourself. Remember, we got the future lawyer on the panel here, so we're going to know if you get, if you pass or not. If you
yeah. I'm just writing a couple of notes. Okay, do you guys want some cheese with all that wine that I just heard? Huh? Anyway. Should they be allowed in the playoffs? Are you guys absolutely bananas? Of course they should be allowed in the playoffs. Absolutely, 100%. And they will be once it does go to 12. Kurt, they don't play a good schedule. I mean, yeah, they don't have Sam Houston State and Ball State on the schedule, but the last 2 years, including this year, they're playing Ohio State home and home. They play Clemson every year. They play USC every year. Those 3 teams are in the top 10. Okay, so the fact that they're playing these teams, they are playing competitive teams. You want some special rules? All right, let them say 3 Hail Marys, and they'll be in the playoffs. Okay, I mean it's ridiculous. This is what football, college football is with this team. Someone mentioned it. It's the brand. Yeah, without question. But that all being said, I mentioned this to Kenny the other day. I saw an article that there are possibilities that Notre Dame might by 2025 go into the Big Ten. All right. There's rumors. There's been possible talk. So this may all be a moot point in a couple of years, but there's a possibility that Notre Dame will go into the Big Ten. And as far as I'm concerned, it doesn't matter where they play. Let them play independent. Let them go to a conference. They'll still make the playoffs because when Notre Dame is in, the ratings go up. And that's the bottom line, as we know. It's all about the money.
Kenny, can I make one more statement before I run, Kenny?
Yeah. I'll give you one last final
Mr.
statement.
Mr. Siciliano, do you agree with me or disagree with me on this one? You ready? If Notre Dame was in the new SEC, meaning the Texas, Oklahoma SEC, if they in 2 years, if Notre Dame went in there, they wouldn't win 5 games. Am I right or am I wrong, sis?
Again, I'm an SEC guy. Nothing personally against Notre Dame. They might win 4 games.
Right. They not beating seriously, they don't beat Auburn, don't beat Alabama, don't beat Georgia,
Nothing
don't beat
personal.
LSU, don't beat Tennessee's. They don't beat those teams. So
No.
we've seen it on the national stage. They got destroyed. So
there's no question about that. I'm not saying that that's not the case. We've all seen it. When they get into the playoffs, they are no match for the Clemsons. They are no match for the Alabamas. But that doesn't mean that moving forward they may not be. I mean, their recruiting classes the next 2 years are top 5. So, all I can say is let's wait and see how this plays out.
Fair.
I understand they, put out a lot of money for their last 2 recruiting classes. Truckloads of it.
Well, the Catholic Church has a lot of money.
I'm gonna buy mommy a house. It's gone way beyond that.
That being said,
man.
fellas, Mr. Valenti is going to be heading out. So I want to give him one last final thought, and I want to thank him for coming back on with us tonight, even though he's feeling a little under the weather. Welcome back home, my friend.
thank you guys. I appreciate you handling everything tonight. You guys do an unbelievable job. And Kenny, I am just going to go and say my college football playoff predictions. I'm going Georgia, Michigan, Clemson, Alabama, and I'm taking Michigan to win it all this year. Kenny.
Nice, Kurt. Thanks, Kurt. And we will we'll catch you next week.
Thanks,
for sure.
Kurt.
Feel better.
Feel better.
I'll see you guys later.
Take
Thank
care.
you.
Feel better.
See ya.
Thank you.
Say hi to Jen.
We'll do.
All right, guys, we're falling a little behind, and rightfully so. College football is always heated, so we're going to try and Kurt was going to do Big 12, so when we get to Big 12, we'll do that rapid fire. But Paul, you're going to just give us a quick rundown. We were talking about Notre Dame. Just give us a quick outlook on what you think Notre Dame, you're expecting out of them this year, and then you've got a couple questions for us.
All right. Jody, this is for you. Here come the Irish. Anyway, Marcus Freeman starting his second full season as coach of Notre Dame. And basically the offense is addition by subtraction. Goodbye, Tyler Buckner. Go with Tommy Rees to Alabama. Goodbye, Drew Pine. Go to Arizona State. What do we get? Maybe arguably the number 1 quarterback transfer in college football, Sam Hartman, top 20 in yards passing, touchdowns, just an unbelievable experience quarterback from Wake Forest who's going to lead the Irish this year. They have their fullback returning, Audric Estime. He's back. They have a boatload of new wide receivers and tight ends. And Hartman could put up some explosive numbers with the offense. On defense, Their top 4 players are back, including their All-American cornerback, Benjamin Morrison, who had 6 interceptions as a freshman last year. So I think Notre Dame has an opportunity. As I said a few minutes ago, they play Ohio State at home. They play USC at home this year, and they play Clemson on the road. I think a 9, possible 10-win season is in the makings, and I think they can be competitive, perhaps even possible playoff, depending on how some things break. Okay, so I have a couple of questions. We talked about a lot of coaches being on the hot seat. So who do you think would be on the hot seat? Coaches like Jimbo Fisher. We talked about Mel Tucker, Billy Napier. Kenny, I'll start with you. Who do you think would be a possible coach who really has to gear it up this year?
I'm going to go with somebody you don't have on that list, Paul. He's program that they was supposedly turning around a couple years ago, and that's a Big 12 Iowa State Matt Campbell. I think it's time he needs to get back on track and get that school back in the running for a Big 12 title, or I think he may be soon on that hot seat for sure.
Okay. Carson?
Yeah, I'm going to go with Jimbo Fisher with Texas A&M. I think he definitely has to prove why they gave him all that money to stay at Texas A&M. And I'm going to go with my guy, Mel Tucker. He had that incredible season where we won the Peach Bowl in his second season with Kenneth Walker, who's obviously with the Seahawks now. But last year was a crash and burn season, probably one of the worst years I've seen as a Spartan football fan. And like I said, the over-under for wins this year is 5.5, so he's got to get to a bowl game. So I'd say Mel Tucker and Jimbo Fisher.
Okay. Ryan?
It may be unfair, but I think that Brett Venables is going to be on that list. He came in succeeding Lincoln Riley, who had just several seasons in a row. Bob Stoops before him, and then briefly around the same time. Had just for decades was an elite coach who was seemingly in contention for big games every season. To go from that to not being able to do it the next couple of years, if they don't get some significant wins this season, I think that Brett Venables may be someone to keep an eye on.
Okay. And Sis around? I don't see Kenny. I don't see Sis.
Sis and Carson will be right back.
Okay.
Sis and Carson will be right
All
back.
right. All right. So let's go to the next question then. Which quarterback transfer would be the most successful? We just mentioned Sam Hartman, Tanner Mordecai, Coach Prime's son, Shedeur Sanders, a few others out there. I'll start with Ryan. Ryan, who do you think might be the most successful transfer quarterback this year?
I'm going to go with the $1.1 million NIL man, Mr. Sam Hartman. I think you guys got a significant one there, and I think that the expectations are going to be high, as they should, but I think that he's going to do a lot of good things for Notre Dame.
Okay. Carson?
Yeah, I'll agree with Ryan. Say Sam Hartman. To go different, I'll go with DJ. I can't pronounce his last name. Uliungale with Oregon State. I think there's a lot of pressure with the whole exposure to the whole Dr. Pepper deal, and pressure was off the wazoo with Clemson. But now he's got a fresh start with Oregon State, and I think he'll have the best year.
Okay. And Sis, who do you think is the best transfer quarterback this year? Be the most successful?
Yeah, everybody's going with Sam Hartman, but I'm going with Paul Rosen.
Thank you, Sis. Kenny?
Sam Hartman was my top choice, but I'm high on Wisconsin. And if Wisconsin's going to make some noise, then it's got to be Tanner Mordecai, the SMU transfer 72 touchdowns last 2 years. If
Mhm.
he performs, he's going to be the key to Wisconsin's success. So I'll go in that route. If I'm picking them to be the Big Ten champs, it's got to be Tanner Mordecai.
Okay. Great responses, guys. Thank you.
Paul, have you been practicing the option in the defensive end? Have you been watching
Not as good,
film?
not as good as you, sis.
Thank you.
Mhm.
All right, so I'm going to move on to the Big 12. Kurt was going to do the Big 12, but I'll do this quick, guys. Big 12, big news, 4 teams from the AAC in there this year: BYU, Cincinnati, Central Florida, and Houston. Next year, 4 Pac-12 teams: Colorado, Utah, uh, uh, Arizona, and Arizona State going to the Big 12 next year. So that being said, we're going to just go through real quick, rapid fire, because again, Kurt was going to run the Big 12. So I'll just do my rapid fire picks. My Big 12 champs going to be the Kansas State. This is like the big wide open conference. So I'm going to go to Kansas State. Pulls off as the champs. My sleeper is going to be one of these new teams, and it's the BYU Cougars. I feel they fit that Big 12 high offense, high velocity, high scoring type of offense. I think they can sneak up on some teams in year one. Disappointment, I feel some people are going to have this team as their disappointment, and it's going to be the Oklahoma Sooners. I just don't think they're going to be having a good last year in the Big 12, and then next year in the SEC. That program's in some trouble. Carson.
Yeah, I'll go with the champ will be Texas. I'll go with the sleeper team I'll go Baylor, and then disappointing Kenny. I'm going to go BYU. They got their wish. They're in a Power 5 conference now. I just think that the schedule and the conference strength will catch up to them, and I think they'll fall off.
That's good. Fair points. Scoops, look at yours.
I'm sorry, my computer is making a lot of weird things. Can you please repeat what you said?
Yeah, we're just doing the Big 12s, the champs. Kurt was going to run this segment, but he had to go.
Yeah, sorry.
You're fine.
My computer's making a lot of bizarre sounds, so I couldn't quite hear you. I've got Texas winning this one. If I'm going to go with a sleeper, I'm going to go with University of Central Florida. I think that they have the potential to make some noise for really the first time in a few years. Disappointment, I'll go with Cincinnati. I don't know if they have the same pressure but I don't know if they have the same eye on them that they did when Ritter was quarterbacking, but I don't think that they're going to have a particularly solid year.
Fair enough. Let's go to Sis.
UCF and Houston.
That's the next question. We're getting the champs. We're Big 12
Well,
champs.
if it's the next one, you gotta say it clear because it sounded like Big 12 teams.
You're fine.
So
We're doing
all right,
Big 12
so
champs.
we're going Texas, sleeper Kansas State, disappointment Oklahoma.
Fair enough. And Paul.
Okay, Texas in the last year there. Texas Tech as my sleeper team, and TCU as my disappointing team after the spectacular year they had. I think it's going to be sort of a letdown season for them.
And you know what, guys? Kurt had 2 questions, but I'm going to hold off on these 2 questions. I'm looking at the time, so we're going to go right into the Pac-12, and I'm going to pass it back off to Carson for some Pac-12 talk.
Yeah, so there's a bunch of games that are happening this weekend, week 0, as you would call it, going into the first official week leading up to the college football season. Obviously, you have some news from the Pac-12 basically kind of dismantling itself. Everybody's pretty much leaving, either going to the Big 10 or the Big 12. The only schools that are still trying to find a home right now is Washington State and Oregon State and Arizona. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with that. Probably by the end of this year, they'll announce that they'll either be joining a different conference. That is my presumption. Obviously, USC with Caleb Williams, they're kind of the front runner right now in the Pac-12. You got a couple really nice teams with Washington. Kenny, I know you're high on the quarterback, Michael Penix Jr. My Spartans actually have to face them this year at home, so it'll be interesting to see how that game progresses. Utah, who I think is a really underrated team in the Pac-12. They always play competitive, and it'll give any team that they fight a really nice game. And then you got Oregon and Oregon State, who I think will be fun to watch as well. So kind of alluding to our question that we had on our agenda, what game are you looking forward to the most in week 0, quote unquote, this weekend leading into next week? You get a couple on the schedule. You got Florida and Utah. You got the big one, who I think a lot of people are going to pick with Florida State and LSU, who, if you guys haven't seen the game from last year, that was an unbelievable finish, the last final 2 minutes of that game. A couple other games that you guys can mention as well. So who's the game that you're looking forward to watching the most? I'll give I think LSU, Florida State. That'll be the one I'm looking forward to seeing the most. The two top 10 teams going at it for Sunday Night Football. So that should be fun. I'll go to Paul first.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, LSU versus Florida, but just to be a little different, North Carolina at South Carolina, I think that game's going to wind up like a 56-52. Whoever has the ball last is going to win that game. So if you like offense, I think that game is going to be unbelievable. So just to be different, I'm going to pick North Carolina at South Carolina.
Nice. I'll go to Ryan.
So I'm going to go with Missouri State at Kansas, and I'm not doing that for purely football reasons. I'm doing that for the obvious reasons that I now live on the Kansas and Missouri border, and I'm looking forward to watching that rivalry game.
Nice. Sis, you got a game you're looking forward to watch for the first week of the season?
Yeah, I just want to tell Scoop, if you're living on that border, you better get a shotgun. I'm looking big time.
Oh,
LSU,
man.
Florida State. That should be a tremendous game to watch.
Mm-hmm. Kenny.
Yeah, LSU, Florida State's definitely going to be the one to watch. Second undercard, UNC, South Carolina. But how about TCU, Colorado? Get to see Dion on the national stage, with the Colorado Buffaloes. We'll see how his team performs against last year's sleeper team of all. Made it to the College Football National Championship. We all know they got destroyed there, but looking forward to that one as well. But LSU, Florida State by far.
Nice. And Paul.
I answered just to be different than.
Yeah.
I'm
sorry. Did we cover everybody?
We did.
Okay, cool.
I know there's a lot of
so.
people tonight. I'm getting confused too.
Yeah.
Can't keep track. Nice. But yeah, that's kind of my thoughts on Pac-12. Kenny, if you want to do the same thing.
Yeah. We'll do a couple things. We got about 5-7 minutes left. We'll get to our predictions, and then we'll wrap the show up, I think. We're doing big Pac-12 champs. Yeah, Pac-12 champs. I'm sorry,
right.
real fast, guys. My Pac-12 champs, I'm going to surprise you. I'm going Washington, top 10 team. I think Michael Penix is going to be the real deal. My sleeper is going to be one of the Arizona teams. I'm going to go with Arizona. My disappointment's going to be Oregon State because they brought that DJ Ogunleye. I'm butchering that name like Carson did earlier, but I don't think he's any good. We all saw what he did in Clemson, so Oregon State's going to be in for a long year. Carson.
Yeah, champ, I'm going to go Utah. I really think that they're on the rise. They had a tremendous season last year, got to the Rose Bowl game. Really, really gritty, down-to-earth team in the Pac-12. I'm going to go on out a limb. I'm going to go kind of shocking. I'll go Utah as my champ. Disappointing, I'm going to go USC. There is a lot of question marks on their defense. Very, very horrendous. They gave up a ton of points last year, an absolute shootout nightmare. So they got to fix their defense together, or I know they got Caleb Williams, who's going to be the number 1 pick, but you still need a defense, and that's the biggest question mark that I have with that team. So I'm going to say USC is a disappointment, and I'm going to go sleeper. I'll go Oregon as the sleeper.
Well, Carson will disagree. I'm going USC. Utah's a sleeper, and Oregon as a disappointment.
I like that. I like the Oregon as a sleeper, as a disappointment. Let's go Scoops next, and then we'll wrap it up with Paul.
Yeah, I'm definitely going USC as my winner. You put Lincoln Riley and Caleb Williams together. I know that their defense isn't great, but what that team's going to be able to do on offense. Sleeper. I'll go with Utah just because I think that with some of the players that they've lost the last couple of years, I think teams or people are not going to be quite as high on them. But I still think they've got talent on the defensive side of the ball that's going to be able to contend. And I'm also going to go with Oregon State as my disappointment. They have not had the same recruiting success recently that other teams like Washington, Oregon, UCLA have had.
And Paul.
Okay. I'm picking Washington as the champ in the Pac-12. Last year, I told you guys Caleb Williams was going to be the Heisman Trophy winner. I'm going to say this. Michael Penix Jr., Heisman Trophy winner this year. Write it down.
Well, I did have it written down. We didn't get to that question tonight, but that was my Heisman Trophy winner.
Nice. Great minds think alike. You know that, Kenny. My sleeper is going to be Oregon State. I disagree with a few of you guys. I think DJ getting out of Clemson is going to be a much different quarterback, better quarterback. I think Dabo doesn't bring in, 1-star recruits, and for whatever reason, it didn't work out in Clemson, and I think he's going to do well over there. And my disappointing team, and I hate to say it, is I think it's going to be Colorado. I think Prime is going to be good in another year or two, but I think for this year, there's going to be a lot of pressure on that team. If they win 3 or 4 games, that's going to be improvement from last year. But I think they're going to be a little disappointed, and it's only going to go better and move up in the next year or two once they go into the Big 12.
Nice. Why don't we do this, guys? We're got a couple minutes to wrap up. We got some stuff we didn't get to tonight. We'll save that for a future show. Why don't we just do our final 4 early playoff predictions and national champs? I'll go first. I'll do mine short and sweet. I'm going to go Georgia. I'm going to go Alabama. I'm going to go Wisconsin. And I'm going to go, Paul, you just mentioned this kid as your Heisman Trophy. I'm going Washington getting in there. I'm going to go Georgia three-peating, though, guys. I think they're going to do it. I think they got a lot of talent over there. And I'm picking them because I want to be wrong. And when I make a prediction, I'm usually wrong. So that's why I'm making that prediction. So I'm going to go Georgia as my champs in the Final Four. Jody's just saying real quick about Colorado. Hype is so big in Colorado. 6 wins is his guess. I'm going to go to Paul. I'll go to you next. You're on my screen.
Okay. Well, you must have been peeking over my test results, Kenny, because, again, Georgia, I'm going to give you guys Alabama, Michigan, and our Washington team is going to sneak in as the 4th playoff team. And I also went with Georgia, 3rd time the charm, as national champions.
I'm going to go to Sis next.
Georgia, Bama, Michigan.
I know who he had written down, but I know he's changed his mind on that one.
Yeah, I didn't put a 14 down, so I'll put down
Notre Dame.
I'll put down Notre Dame.
Wow. All the salesmen.
That envelope you were talking about, Sis.
I'm easy.
You'll be
as long as I got Bama to root for. I'll just say anything for any other team.
We'll go Scoops and then we'll get Carson's to wrap it up.
Okay, so I'm gonna say top four is gonna, or the final four rather, is gonna be Georgia 1, Ohio State 2, Michigan 3, Alabama 4. I think Georgia beats Alabama, unfortunately, and I think Michigan beats Ohio State. Georgia and Michigan is obviously my final, and I keep going back and forth on who I think is going to win this, but three-peating is so challenging. I'm going to say Michigan wins it this year. I apologize, Carson.
Man, Kurt and Scoops agree, and what's going on there? Sharing the same brain.
Right.
Carson, give us yours, and we'll get our
This
closing
is a
thoughts.
scary
after that.
timeline.
Yeah. Right now, obviously, you can't have Michigan and Ohio State both in the playoff. I mean, because one of them's going to lose in that game at the end of the season. So I'm going to go Georgia 1. I'll put Michigan number 2. I'm going to go Florida State 3 and Bama 4. I think Florida State, they got a lot of talent this year. My boy Keon Coleman just transferred there. Florida State's going to love him, and that's my 4. And I think Michigan wins it all. So it's the best team I've ever seen Michigan have with Harbaugh. So I think they're that good.
Nice. All right, fellas, why don't we do some closing thoughts? I'm going to get Sis's closing thoughts first.
Get your projectors out, start studying film, and you'll be able to guide your teams a lot better if you do that. That's my closing thoughts.
Scoops, your closing thoughts.
Great show, guys, as always. Kurt, hope you and Jenny Hoops feel better soon. I have nothing to say about baseball right now. I'll say that on an independent show. But I hope you guys have a good rest of your week, and also rest in peace to Stan Van Gundy's wife, Kim.
Well said, Ryan. Thanks for that info. And I didn't know that. Rest in peace, Mr. Van Gundy's wife. Paul.
Great show, a lot of fun. We go back and forth like brothers, so all in good fun. Jen and Kurt, feel better. And I do want to send a condolence. Luby's beloved aunt, unfortunately, passed away late last night. So I just want to send condolences to Luby's family and friends. And Loretta, you'll be missed very, very much.
Thanks, Paul. And yeah, our condolences from all of us on here, and
Thank you.
Kurt and Jen as well.
Thank you
as well. Carson, your final thoughts.
Yeah, great show as always, guys. Ryan, good luck at school down there. Sis, thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much.
And Kurt and Jenny Hoops, hopefully you guys are feeling better. And Paul, I got money on your boys this weekend to cover the spread, so they better do it.
They better, man. I'm going to be disappointed. Yeah. I'm getting home in time to watch that game this Saturday afternoon.
But good show tonight, guys.
Thanks, Carson. Where can we find you? You're going to be on in a few minutes. Can you let our audience know?
Yeah, if you guys like casino content, you can find me on YouTube. Just search up Ticket Time Live for your casino needs.
Thanks, Carson. And my final thoughts are great show, guys. We did a little special college preview. Short notice, Sis had the agenda maybe less than an hour before the show started. So, hats off for Sis for quick thinking on all our questions and everything. Kurt, Jen, welcome back. Sucks that you're not feeling well, but we know you'll get back healthy next week with us, and show will be back to normal next week with you on us for the full hour and a half. That being said, guys, I hope everybody has a good week. Enjoy the college football this week, week 0. Irish in Ireland. I like that. Let's go Notre Dame.
Go Irish.
For Carson's
Go
sake.
Irish.
Not for Paul's sake. For Carson's sake. For Paul's sake, too. For Paul's sake, too. But have a good night, everybody.
I want...
Oh, go ahead, Paul. I was going to say...
No. Hey, listen, I want him to make some pizza money. So,
Well, it's got to be corned beef and cabbage money. It's
That's
There
it.
you go.
It's Irish. So let's go in week 0. Everybody,
Coming from Kirkpatrick, it better be, right?
Yep. Have a good night, everybody. We'll see you next week.
See you guys.
Good night.